Hi guys, my name is Wasiko. In this channel, we're all about nourishing your growth, focusing on personal development and self-discovery. We also talk about faith in this channel. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The more you like, the more you subscribe, the more YouTube is able to push this video so that more people can be able to see it. And today we're talking about grief. Somebody just lost their mother, and they lost their mother exactly the same age I lost my mother. I lost my mother at the age of 30, 3 years ago. And when I saw this person say that they lost their mother, it kind of triggered me. It kind of reminded me of that pain of grief, the pain of losing a parent, the pain of not understanding why, the pain of having all these questions and being mad at God. And grief is something, to be honest with you, grief for me is something that I feel like like you don't forget, you don't completely heal from it. It's something that you have to live with. And you might not even have the answers of why God did what he did, but you just learn to live with it. And I find that most of us find a hard time grieving. So some of us cry, some of us don't cry, some of us just pretend like we're not feeling anything, but we do feel. Like losing a parent is painful, guys. It is so painful. You'll never see this person in the flesh. And sometimes you have all these questions and you know that no one is going to answer those questions for you. I know I'm learning to live with the grief. I am not completely over it. There are times where I'm okay with the times where I'm just okay, or okay, I lost my mother. There are times where I'm like, yo God, I wish I could see her right now. I wish you could talk to me right now. I wish I could have a hug from her. You come across so many things in life, and sometimes you just wish your parent was there just to comfort you, your parent just to give you that hug, just to tell you that it's all okay, and they are not there. I allowed myself to grieve my mother, and when she just passed on, I remember every single day after work, whenever I got into a taxi and those lights would go off, and I would just cry my eyes out. I would just cry and be like, yo, God, why? Why would you take away? Why would you take somebody that's so important to us? Why would you let me feel so much pain? It felt like the whole world had been pulled under my feet. It felt like I did not know who I was. Like oxygen had been taken away from me and I'm struggling to breathe. That's how grief is. And I just cried and cried and cried. Yo, I used to cry every day, guys. Yo, I used to cry every day. And all the time now when I was crying, I used to ask God, why? Like, I did not ask anything else. Whenever I prayed to God, that was my first question. That was my question. Why would you take away somebody that's so important to us? Why would you take somebody that means so much to me? I used to ask why and why and why, and I used to ask God all the time. Like there was never a moment I didn't ask. And also another way of grieving, I used to be at my mother's grave every other day, guys. Like being at her grave just made us, and luckily our mother's just 5 minutes away from my house. So just going to my mother's grave gave me so much it just gave me so much peace. I felt closer to her and I could vent whatever that I was feeling. I could tell her how I was feeling. I could cry. I could do all those things. And I just went there all the time. Like, for the longest time, guys, I think I spent almost a year going to my mother's grave. And I remember at that time, there was never a moment where I went there and I had good things to say or I did not have anything to say. I was always complaining about something. It's only now when I look back and I'm like, you know what, ne? Sometimes we do not allow ourselves to grieve. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to feel the feelings that we feel. We don't even allow ourselves to ask God why. Because you would find people say, no, you don't need to ask. Don't ask God why. Yes, God has his reasons, but I can ask him why. Because that also for me was important to understand. Why did he feel at the time it was okay for him to take my mother? And you're probably also just going through grief and you're just finding a hard time just trying to understand everything. and you're just finding a hard time on how to deal with grieving your mother, I want to tell you that if you feel like crying, cry it all out. And remember to give yourself that opportunity to grieve your parent however you want to grieve your parent. Do it for your own healing. Do it if you have to be at their grave all the time, if you have to visit her all the time, and talk to them. Talk. I one thing I realize about people that have passed on, it's when you talk to them, you feel much more closer to them. The more you talk to them, the more closer you feel to them. So talk to them as much as possible. Just talk and just talk to them, and until you find that healing. And don't allow other people to tell you how you must grieve your own parent. Don't allow them. Do what feels right to you. Do what your heart tells you. There's no straight line on how to grieve your parent. So when you need to do what's good for you and do what's right for you to grieve your own parent, because remember, that was your mother, that was your parent that gave birth to you. So losing them has hurt you so much, and you having and you allowing yourself to grieve the way you want to, is also just healing yourself in the process. I just wanted to say to you that grief is a wound that never heals. You know that wound that you had that never heals, but you are able to live with it? It's like that. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say to you. Do you the best way you know how to do. Grieve the best way you know how to grieve your parent. I'll see you in another video.